we are highly privileged and deeply honored with the benign presence of Sri Pramod Kumar Mishra ji, Honorable Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of India, as the chief guest of today's inaugural function. I request Padma Bhushan Dr. R.S. Paroda sir, Chairman TAS, to welcome our esteemed chief guest with flowers. And now, ladies and gentlemen, harnessing the unique opportunity to listen from the Honorable Chief Guest of today's inaugural session, I very humbly request and invite Sri P.K. Mishra ji, Honorable Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister of India, to kindly bless us all with your valuable guidance as the major takeaway. So please.
Dr. R.S. Paroda, Chairman TAS, Dr. Trilotan Mahapatra, Vice Chairman, Dr. Stanford Blade, Director General ICRISET, Sri Ajay Rana, Chairman FSII, Dr. Tyagi, Dr. Bagmal, industry leaders, eminent scientists, researchers, and distinguished participants. When I come to ICAR and particularly this auditorium, sounds very familiar. And it is always nice to come because during my days in the Agriculture Ministry, I used to come and more importantly, see so many faces here, whether it is Sanjay Agarwal, Professor Deepak Pental, Dr. Gautam, and so many others. So it is always nice to come here and interact with researchers. I am really delighted to be present on this National Symposium on Hybrid Seeds. Dr. Mahapatra gave a very generous introduction also. So it is so familiar to see all of you. Normally, somewhere I read that when you speak to such an eminent scientists and others, or even to other people in the public, one is not very sure what is expected, what one will speak. So better to indicate in the beginning what you are going to speak. Then you speak, and at the end you again indicate what you have spoken, so that if something is not what I have spoken, not comprehensible, it can be much easier to comprehend. Many things were mentioned about hybrid technology, agricultural development, and so on. But today I would like to, because hybrid, of course, technology is known for last half a century, if not more. Much has been talked about. Increasing the productivity of crops, that is also always talked about. So one thing I wonder that about 2007, 8, when I was in agriculture, so about how many years now, 16, 17 years have passed. Even when I think about my days in the agriculture department in Gujarat, that was 85 to 87, about 35 years have passed. When we have such conferences, the issues which come, the issues we try to analyze remain, many of those remain the same. We talk about how in China and other countries, the crop productivity is high, how we are not able to go to that level. We talk about the seed varieties developed and released have the potential of, say, X ton in per hectare, but farmers feel it is less. How to transfer technology? Of course, much has improved since then, but always one feels, could we have done it much faster? Could we have reached those levels which we are talking about much faster? So these are some of the issues one needs to address. Second thing is the hybrid varieties hybrid seeds, hybrid technology. They're important that we should increase crop productivity and so on. But today I would like to look at the hybrid technology from a much larger perspective. Two aspects are extremely important. One, in the larger context of economic growth, particularly when our Prime Minister has talked about India becoming a developed country by 2047, we not only need to have higher economic growth, but also a growth that is equitable, inclusive. Is there a role for hybrid in this larger context? The second aspect, that agricultural transformation has taken place in many countries, as in India. In this context, and to raise farmers' income, what is the role of hybrid? So these are the two larger contexts in which I would like to put the importance of hybrid technology. The Green Revolution of 1990s, as all of us know, agricultural research over the years and policy initiatives have resulted in a five-fold increase in food production and doubling of per capita production of food in the country. From an uncomfortable state of acute shortage of food, widespread hunger, and heavy import dependence, the country has emerged as a net exporter and surplus producer of many agricultural commodities. Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi has given a clarion call to make India a developed country. His vision is to realize our goal of Viksit Bharat, or a developed India, by 2047. For being a developed country, we need to have not only a higher rate of economic growth, but a growth that is equitable, inclusive, and sustainable. Agricultural growth has an important role to play to make the growth inclusive and equitable. Further, reducing poverty is extremely relevant, and agriculture can play a key role. India's agriculture has demonstrated significant performance in terms of output growth and sectoral income. From the mid-1980s to 2003-4, the growth rate in agricultural income, measured by gross value added at constant prices, remained below 3%. This rate increased to 3.5% during 2004-5 to 2014-15, 2013-14, and further accelerated to 4.1% during 2014-15 and 2022-23. So growth rate has certainly increased over these decades. It is also important to note that the 7-year period 2016-17 to 2022-23, during this period, agriculture achieved an unprecedented annual growth rate of 5%, which is a record in the post-independence India. During this period, livestock and fisheries accounted for respectively 5.8% and 9%. This is also very significant. But in this growth story, there are three important aspects which we need to take note of. First, even though the agriculture sector has grown during the last 5 years, it has grown in absolute terms, no doubt about it. A structural transformation has taken place, characterized by shift in the share of gross domestic product and workforce. Its share in gross domestic product GDP has markedly declined from 42% in 1970-71 to 18% in 2023-24, whereas the workforce, the figures are respectively 70% and 46%. In other words, though the share of agriculture in GDP has declined from 42 to 18%, which is a sharp decline, the share of workforce has not declined correspondingly. And this is where the issue of equity and inclusiveness comes. This is, of course, not something very unexpected. The economic research, economic theory suggests that as a country grows, as the GDP grows, the share of agriculture declines. It has happened in many countries, Asian countries and other countries. According to the Vision 2050 prepared by the ICAR research, the GDP is projected to decrease to about 7%, the share of agriculture in GDP by 2050. But the share of agriculture in workforce will still remain 27%. In other words, 27% of the workforce will have a gross value added or income of 7% of the total economy. This is why the issue of equity and inclusiveness are important. Another aspect of the structural change is the number of small holdings. Number of small holdings declined from increased from 71 million in 1970-71 to 146 million in 2015-16. During this period, the average holding size declined from 2.8 hectare to 1.08 hectare. And estimates, some provisional figures show that the number of small holdings has further increased to 168 million, which is about 88% of the total holdings. The average size is now slightly less than 1 hectare. So this is an important development. And this has also happened in many of the Asian countries, whether it is China, whether it is Japan, whether it is Indonesia. Though everywhere the farm size, the small holdings have increased, size of average holding has also declined. Though some of the European countries, it is the other way around, the average size has increased. But in the Asian countries, the classical theory of the declining share in workforce has not taken place. So this part we have to keep in view while devising policies for increasing farmers' income. Another aspect is that, as I mentioned earlier, during the 7-year period from 2016 to 23, India achieved a growth rate of 5%, total GDP growth rate. During this period, the growth rate in case of livestock and fisheries was 5.8% and 9% respectively. The growth rate of food grains was only 2.63%. So this is also an implication why we need hybrid seed for more inclusive growth and greater equity in the economic growth. Similar trends are seen in several Asian countries such as Japan, Korea, and even China. The conventional postulate of shifting workforce from agriculture to non-agriculture does not hold fully. The movement of workforce is slower compared to agriculture's share in GDP. So hence again, I would like to repeat that there are important implications for inclusive, equitable, and sustainable growth, keeping in view the fact that majority of agricultural holdings is and will be small There is a need to focus more on smallholder agriculture, to focus much more than what we have done so far. Though again, during the last half a century, many initiatives for small farmers, marginal farmers have taken up. But now we have to look at in the larger context of becoming a developed country to focus more on smallholder agriculture. In my C.D. Deshmukh Memorial Lecture at the Reserve Bank of India about a month ago, I had mentioned several measures, those to improve the condition of smallholder agriculture. Those include more focus on horticulture, livestock and fisheries, use of technology in agriculture, particularly focusing on smallholder agriculture, diversification of crops towards more profitable crops, increase in crop productivity and non-farm activities. Also food grains production, though we need, of course, we have surplus food grains, but we need to have a more sustainable increase. But we should also focus on crops which are more profitable to farmer. It is in this context we must look at our research and hybrid. For example, in case of horticulture, because the horticulture has grown at a much faster rate, and that has also led to some increase in the income of farmers who have adopted horticulture and cash crops. So how do we focus on that? At the same time, for food grains also, we must develop new varieties or new technology. This symposium is being organized at a time when ensuring national and global food security has become more critical than ever before. If you look at the global context, the pressure of growing world population, escalating impact of climate change, and persistent socio-economic inequalities and geopolitical events have resulted in disruption in the global food supply chain. These challenges threaten to severely delay the achieving of the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly those related to poverty reduction and ending hunger and malnutrition. It is in this context that hybrid technology is a powerful and proven tool for significantly boosting crop yield, enhancing nutritional value, and improving resilience to various biotic and abiotic stresses. India has a history, as it was mentioned by Dr. Paroda, Dr. Mahapatra, and others, has a history of pioneering work in this domain with groundbreaking achievements in developing hybrids across diverse crops such as maize, sorghum, cotton, and several others. As it was also mentioned, the first cotton hybrid was developed in 1970 by Dr. C.T. Patel in Gujarat. Hybrid technology had demonstrated a superiority in many cross-pollinated and low-volume, high-value field and horticultural crops. Recognizing the potential of hybrid rice in enhancing productivity and learning from the success story of hybrid rice in China, the Indian Agricultural Research projects launched in 1989 with the support of UNDP and FAO laid a strong foundation for hybrid rice research in the country. As an outcome of this program, a number of hybrid, in case of rice, pigeon pea, mustard, tomato, cauliflower, have been released by public sector institutions. ICAR's program in hybrid development has been very strong in case of bajra, sorghum, and maize from the very beginning. The concept of single cross hybrids in maize has revolutionized the maize productivity. As Mr. Rana also mentioned, a whole range of hybrid which are being released and also produced. In the vegetable, being the low volume and high value crops, hybrids are showing the maximum promise and yield up to 32 tons per hectare are reported from many countries. India's vegetable production reached a level of 213 million tons in 2022-23, with an average productivity of about 19 tons per hectare. The adoption of hybrid vegetable varieties has been instrumental in achieving these productivity levels owing to their early maturity, superior quality, high yield potential, and resistance to disease and pest. However, in field crops except maize, pearl millet, and cotton, hybrids could not occupy a larger areas. In rice, as Dr. Paroda also mentioned, even after 35 years of introduction of hybrid technology, the area under hybrid has not gone beyond 3.5 million hectares, 8% of the total area under rice cultivation. Rice research must focus on further improvement in the yield potential of hybrids to significantly outperform the high-yielding pure line rice varieties. Unless the hybrids successfully compete with the best pure line varieties under optimum management conditions and give higher profits, area expansion will not happen. It is very necessary to also understand why farmers have not adopted some of the hybrid varieties. India has a deficit in the production of oil seeds and pulses. These two crops need our attention much more than what we have done so far. Can hybrid technology be mainstreamed in these crops to gain yield increase not realized so far? There are some hybrids of mustard crop in the market. However, here again, the level of hybrid vigor and heterosis needs to be investigated so that hybrids perform much better than the open pollinated varieties. More than a decade ago, ICRISAT research claimed development of release of hybrid in pigeon pea. As far as I know, though some field level trials were there, pigeon pea hybrids are yet to go to the field on a very large scale and gain popularity among farmers. Here again, the bottlenecks need to be identified and appropriate R&D interventions are put in place so that import of pulses is reduced significantly in a time-bound manner. Of course, in this case, I do not have the latest update, but the fact remains that the pigeon pea, which had shown a lot of promises a decade or more ago, hasn't made a breakthrough on the farmer's field. Hybrid seeds are to be changed every year during sowing. Since the seeds harvested from a hybrid do not remain hybrid, farmers have to purchase seeds every year in order to harness the benefit of yield advantage of hybrids. This is a limitation for the farmers, though of course it can be profitable for the seed companies if farmers have to purchase every year. I have learned about global research efforts aiming at a seed production technology that can allow farmers to save the seeds harvested from a hybrid to grow as the next crop. I think Mr. Rana might be knowing about it, this research. This will help saving on the cost of seeds. How far we can go in the research or today's research, that of course we must assess. Hopefully the scientific community will succeed sooner in this respect. Scientific research should be done which is very relevant to farmers. While the benefits of hybrid technology are clear, we must acknowledge the inherent complexities involved in hybrid breeding programs, challenges such as inbreeding depression, the need for substantial resources and infrastructure, and requirement of specialized expertise can sometimes hinder the progress. However, the rapid advancement in genomics and related biotechnologies offer exciting new opportunities to overcome these obstacles. Tools such as marker-assisted selection, genome gene editing technologies, precise phenotyping, and genomic selection are revolutionizing the field. These tools allow for greater precision in breeding, accelerate the development of superior hybrids, and enable us to target specific traits more effectively. Government of India has put in place the guidelines for use of gene editing technology, which should be deployed in crops to have quicker progress in improving yield, pest resistance, climate resilience, and better nutritional quality, adequately addressing the IP encumbrances, if any. I must compliment the very good initiative taken by Dr. Mahapatra in this connection when he was Director General of the ICAR. To fully unlock the potential of hybrid technology, we need a concerted and collaborative effort. Stronger public-private partnerships are absolutely essential. By fostering close collaboration involving public research institutions of ICAR, CSIR, and DBT, international organizations including ICRISAT and ERI, the private sector seed companies, we can create a powerful synergy that drives innovation, facilitates technology transfer, and ensure that research outcomes reach farmers at the earliest. Sharing of knowledge, promising germplasm, and human resource infrastructure will be crucial in overcoming existing bottlenecks for scaling the adoption of hybrids for enhanced productivity. To strengthen public-private partnership, a consortium approach will be most beneficial. R&D programs jointly undertaken by public and private would be rewarding. For harnessing the benefits of hybrid technology and enabling policy support is vital. Strengthening intellectual property rights, especially through effective implementation of the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act, is very important. We now need much more robust seed production and distribution systems that can ensure timely availability of good quality hybrid seeds to the farmers at an affordable cost. Equally important is to enhance farmers' capabilities and knowledge to use efficiently hybrid seeds by adopting good agronomic practices. This has been again an important issue which is being addressed for many years, how to ensure that farmers' capabilities to use technology and also the laboratory research results reach the farmers effectively. These are, of course, from the ancient times, starting from the T&V program, the training and visit, which was there, I think, very, very early stage after the Green Revolution, to so many other initiatives have been taken. And now, of course, I am told many startups have come up also, which can play really an important role in innovation and ensuring that it is a more farmer-friendly approach. I do hope that this symposium will provide an opportunity to researchers to come together, share knowledge, exchange ideas, and chart a clear roadmap for scaling the adoption of hybrid technology for a large number of crops. In this context, even the South-South cooperation, as Dr. Blade mentioned, that can also be facilitated so that our seeds reach the other countries who need it. Dr. Paroda mentioned about a national hybrid mission. He also talked about fund capacity and expertise and also institutional reform. It is in this context I would like to mention that ICAR and also its research institution probably need reform also so that their output can be improved. Last several decades, new technology has developed, new methods of research has been introduced. So in this context, I see AR should take a very urgent look at how to reform, because many other institutions and organizations are being reformed. There have been earlier reports to reform ICAR. I think some steps need to be taken so that our human resources, our other resources are more fruitfully utilized, and also our research outcomes are much more uh, relevant and beneficial to farmers. I am sure the outcomes of this symposium will provide a way forward so that our future food and nutritional security remains sustainable, and farmers, particularly small farmers, have higher productivity and income. So all that I have tried to say, that we should not look hybrid as just a releasing a new varieties, releasing a few varieties, some more research on productivity. All these are important, but we should realize that it has a much greater sense of urgency and relevance in the current context when we want India to become a developed country, the growth rate to improve, and it is certainly going to increase. But when our GDP grows, when the GDP increases, the growth rate becomes higher. The agriculture sector also grows in absolute terms, but its relative share in the GDP comes down in proportionate terms, and but the workforce doesn't decrease so much. So there we need to have policies that farmers who are there in agriculture still, and the particularly most of them will be small holders, how to improve their income, because with a small piece of land, less than one uh, hectare, it will be difficult for them to meet their livelihood, and particularly the rising aspirations of the people. It is in this context that hybrid, of course, there are many other things are to be done, like horticulture or even non-farm income. All those things are to be done, but use of technology, use of hybrid to increase the productivity and income, these are also very critical elements. And it is in this context that we should look at our efforts for hybrid technology research and application. I wish the symposium all success and wish all of you a very good, very successful new year. Thank you.